Good evening, my friends. It's VJ Franz K. I wanted to make another video discussing RC505 used with an external drum machine, in this case the amazing Deluge from Synthstrom in New Zealand. So I'm going to stop the drum machine here. RC505 is still going. Stop the internal drum machine there. Notice that I have the MIDI out connected with the MIDI cable to the MIDI in of the Deluge. And people have asked, what is the best way to connect the things? RC505, it's best to have that the MIDI tempo master of the other machines, just because it is a better leader than a follower, you might say. So now I'm going to transfer the sequence. I'm working on a song, it's called Deflectors, that's the working title. But I've split up the song into various parts. So when I start the internal drum machine here, drum machine is now going over here also. Notice I can even turn down, I could even turn off the rhythm level on the RC505 once I know that the two of them are synced correctly. So then I will go over here and record the drum part of this sequence onto loop 1. You notice I turned down my voice while I was doing that, just so there would be no noise from the microphone. So here is the drum loop started, and it's in perfect sync as you would wish it to be, ready to be used as part of the song. So then I'll try starting this part. I've sort of made the song in an A-B structure. So I'm going to put this part on loop number 2. So I've stopped that loop, but now I have drum loop and the A section of the song on this one. And I might save number 3 to record the vocal backing for part A of the song. So I would, build up loops. But then there's also the B part of the song. This is one of the most amazing things about the Deluge, is that you can break up your song into logical groups and then trigger those at a time, so you can make an A-B structure. So now we have the B section as well as the A section. Don't play them together because they'll probably be dissonant, not, the chords won't go together, but you are able to actually set some of these so they will switch off other ones, but I usually don't bother to do that. I just use the hand controls, and on most of my sequences I will just remember that there's always going to be some drum loop on number 1, something that just keeps the tempo of the song, even if it's just you counting out the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, or maybe, basic human beatbox or whatever is going to be on number 1. And it makes sense to always try and organize your sessions in that way, so then you won't be confused later on coming back to them if you're playing them back. So now I'm able to do the A section of the song, and I'm able to do the B section of the song anytime I want just by, adjusting these faders here. And that is great. So it's ready to record the vocals, and over here I have my vocoder ready to record. I have my vocoder ready to record any notes I want. So that's cool. It is a well organized RC505 setup here, and I'll go ahead and write that to this pattern. Anyway, spend a lot of time with your RC505 and just get to know it. Loop random sounds, not just human beatbox. You could loop any noises. Plug in your iPhone with noise apps. Plug in, if you have an iPad, or everyone has a cell phone or some kind of device at this point. So you could sample anything. Sample your friend's voice as long as they know about it. Don't sample them against their will. But get a variety of sounds and try just looping them, because it can be really amazing what you can do with various loops. Let's see, what else do I really need to cover here? Let's see, I've written the pattern here. I'm going to try once again playing the pattern over here. Just play part of it. Adjust it on the Deluge over here. Suppose I change my tempo. Notice everything stays in sync. Everything really stays in sync. And that is impressive. Except for a little bit of wavering due to the fact that I have tempo delay on that one. So when I change the speed of it, it gets out of tune for a minute, but then it returns. Notice that the effects over here get artifacted and choppy, but because the drum machine, it's just a drum machine. It's not, in this case, I'm not time stretching any patterns or anything. So and I've instantly just made it into ambient music. That's what's amazing about running drum machines and live looping and so-called DAW-less jamming, right? Is machines that, instead of playing back a sequence that is like pre-recorded, you can really change things about the song, or even make up something completely from scratch. And I'll probably do at least one more video while these are set up on the table here, where I just make up something entirely from scratch and loop it. But I just wanted to show you here me transferring a pattern that I had composed here on the Deluge, and it could be any other drum machine. It could be, Korg Electribes, it could be Volca, it could be Novation Circuit, or, if you're using Electron, you might be using Electron Octatrack, but you might not be. You might be using Electron Analog 4 or Rhythm or something like that. I'll probably get an Octatrack someday, but they are pretty expensive, and the RC505 does the looping functions in a simple and very easy to use way. It's very intuitive. I really like it. And now it sounds like soundtrack music for some outer space thing. I really like it. It's a lot of fun to just jam around with, and you know, as it is common to now speak about DAW-less jamming, something like that, RC505 is complicated enough that it can kind of replace a DAW. I will often use this. Actually, I would use the RC505, or I would use Deluge or some other drum machine. Previously, I would mostly use Electribes, but really I'm getting into this quite a bit now. See my other videos with that. But it's amazing how you can just come up with interesting ideas and then change them into something else. And I suggest, before you change them into something else really different, make sure you save it at a place. Save it in a way that you like it. Sometimes even in the middle of a show, I might save the pattern if I think there's enough time to do it, so I could come back to this song, because sometimes I have changed it. I've changed it up in some important way, so I might want to go back. It's fun to use the beat scatter. And another thing is, just notice that you can, on your effects, you can set a lot of things for each track. For example, you can set, let's see, does the track affect it? Is it on or is it off? If it's off, my beat scatter won't chop the synthesizers. Or it will chop the synthesizers, it won't chop the beat. So, you know, selectively, you can use that to your advantage. Anyway, you're tired of hearing that loop, but I'll finish producing that later. You know, since we are talking about this, we're going to go ahead and reverse the polarity of the neutron flow, as they would say on Doctor Who. Change the plug direction here. Set MIDI in from MIDI in into the RC505, and then MIDI out from the Deluge. Let's see what happens. 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 Because the Deluge can actually go. Let's see what happens. It can go down to one beat. Let's see what happens. 1 BPM. I've never seen a drum machine that can go that slow. You know, usually they stop at 10 or 20. They usually stop at 10 beats a minute or something like that. And obviously, with modular gear, you can go down any incredibly slow amount that you wanted, but other thing on the Deluge, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. See how fast I can go. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Look at that. Isn't it amazing how fast this can actually go? It can go up to 10,000 BPM. I still can't believe that, how amazing that really is for weird effects, even though you're not really going to do a song at that speed. But I think RC505 tops out at about 250, so you know, anything that you send to it that is above 250 is just going to be ignored. So let's see, what else can we talk about? See, something was mentioning, if you have a long tone, if you have a long tone, record 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 a long tone. It can get kind of choppy, obviously, with that going like that. See, I'll turn the thing down to 100, tempo 100. Try a different, try. Go through my voices here. Try a very long tone, a very long tone, a very long. It sounds okay, actually. I'm not getting that much choppiness, maybe a little bit. I was hearing that if the RC505 is not the master, it may introduce artifacts into your... Definitely it will introduce artifacts if you change the tempo. So just know that it will do that. You know, that is the way that it is able to adjust the tempo without... That is the way it is able to adjust the tempo without adjusting the pitch, is by adding those chop points in there. You know, it's not as complicated as Ableton Live or something like that.